My parents are forcing me to give my baby up for adoption. I am a 16-year-old girl who recently found out I am pregnant by a coworker. He is 18 years old and about to graduate from high school, with plans to join the military after graduation. We are not in a relationship, though I wish we were. We are friends and he flirts with me, but he does not seem interested in anything more serious. I lost my virginity to him, and we have had sex multiple times. He did not force me or anything like that. Currently, I am 15 weeks pregnant. Not everyone knows, but he knows and my parents know. I am embarrassed and feel like an idiot, a joke, and trash. I wish I could hide until after the baby is born and never leave my house. My parents are essentially forcing me to give the baby up for adoption. I live in a state with strict abortion laws, and it is too late for an abortion anyway. My parents do not believe in abortion and view this as my punishment for getting pregnant. They have decided that I am giving the baby away and have already set up a meeting with an adoption agency. They insist that they will not let me ruin my life with a baby and will not raise the baby either. My mom keeps saying, "You'll thank us later. I did not get pregnant on purpose, and I do not want to be a mother right now. I turned 17 over the summer and will be starting my junior year next year. The idea of going through pregnancy and giving birth just to give my baby away terrifies me. I do not know if I can live with it. It literally makes me feel like I want to throw up or pass out. I feel like I have no choice but to go along with what my parents want. I cannot support myself, let alone myself and a baby. I could never do it on my own. I was too scared to get an abortion earlier before I told my parents I was pregnant. I was scared of getting in trouble, but now I realize that it probably would have been the easiest thing for me to do. If anyone reading this has given a baby up for adoption and survived it, please let me know what it was like. Do you get over it? Do you really end up feeling like it is the best thing for them and that you are able to just live with it? Update 1. I am now 20 weeks pregnant and will turn 17 within the next few weeks. My parents are still forcing me to give my baby up for adoption. We have met with an adoption agency. The adoption counselor knows that I do not want to go through with the adoption. She asked to speak with me privately without my parents present to ask me a series of questions. I was honest and told her I did not want to give my baby away but felt I had no other choice. She seems to feel bad about the situation and told me that I will ultimately have to sign the papers after the baby is born. My parents cannot sign the papers on my behalf. Unfortunately, without my parents' help, I have no other options. The adoption counselor talked to us about the possibility of my parents adopting my baby, which I do not really want either. My parents are not interested in raising another baby, so that is not an option. My parents want me to look at potential families. I am trying to look at them. It is so weird thinking that I am looking for parents for my own baby. I know I am not ready to be a mom, but it is still so weird. None of this feels like it is happening to me. I have talked to the baby's father. He graduated high school and will be going off to basic training later this summer. I think he would be okay with adoption. He said he does not really know what other options we have. We could get married since the military would at least help pay for a place to live and we would have medical benefits, but I cannot get married without parental consent. We do not love each other. What kind of marriage would that be? But it seems like the only realistic solution. I hate the idea of being married at 17 years old and to a person who does not genuinely want to be married to me. Another option, which still involves marriage, might be for his parents to help out, even take care of the baby and let me see him or her until I am 18 and do not need my parents' permission to get married. That does not seem fair to them either. He could try to object to an adoption, but it is not guaranteed that his wishes would be respected. Plus, then what happens to the baby? His parents seem like good people. I do not know them well, but I have met them. They are worried about what this will do to his future, but they told my parents they believe it should be our decision and that it is their job as parents to help us. My parents basically said it is their job to protect me and that all of the responsibility will fall on me and it will be my life that is ruined. Our families met to discuss everything, but it was really just our parents telling his parents what was going to happen and that they and their son have no say. Update 2. I had an ultrasound on Friday and found out I am having a baby boy. He is basically fully formed and just needs to get bigger now. I saw his head and his nose, and they even got a picture of the bottom of his 2 feet together because he was sort of sideways at first and we had to get him to move. It looked sort of like footprints. I could clearly see his little hands and everything. So, I already said it in my previous post, but people are still sending me information about abortion. I know those people are trying to help, and I wish I had maybe reached out here when I first found out I was pregnant since I did not know I could get pills mailed to my house. I just cannot get an abortion now. It is a fully formed baby. I even named him. It will not solve my problem at this point because my biggest problem with adoption is how I am going to live with it mentally for the rest of my life. Now that I know it is a baby moving around in there and stuff, I think I would also not mentally be able to handle an abortion now. If it was still just a lump of cells, I would feel different, but I was too scared to do anything then. I want to keep my baby. I do not want anyone else to have him. This is my baby. I do not think I can survive handing him over to somebody else. It is not fair. I know I made a mistake and I should not have had sex. I should not have sat there doing nothing when I could have gotten an abortion and saved myself all this suffering and still had my parents' love and acceptance since they would never have to know. They called me a slut. I have barely any privacy anymore. What do they think I am going to do? After the ultrasound, I sent the baby's father the pictures. He was not there. My parents do not want him or his family involved now, probably because I told them he offered to marry me, and they yelled at me for even considering that. I told him I cannot give the baby away and asked if his parents were really serious about helping and if he would hate me for keeping it. He said he would not hate me. I still think he will blame me for ruining his life. He already told me he thinks adoption is the best choice. If we got married and he got caught cheating on me, even if I was okay with it, he could get in a lot of trouble. He said, "Why would I cheat on you?" He said he likes me. He would not have sex with me if he did not like me. He just did not see the point in us being in a relationship since he was leaving anyway. It was just easier that way. The thing is, I know I am not the only girl he has been with during that time. I am not stupid enough to think I am special to him or that he loves me. And we both know it is sort of ridiculous to imagine us being married or acting like adults, but I guess that is what you have to do if you have a baby. I cannot really imagine being a wife, but maybe it would not be too bad, and I would get to move away from my parents. He said it is really weird to think about, but I have very few options and he does not know what else he is supposed to offer, but he is going to talk to his parents since I am too shy to. I guess I am assuming they were just saying it to be nice, but are probably happy my parents are making me do the adoption. He says his parents are not like that. I am really just an inconvenience to everyone, and if I keep my baby, he might end up not liking me too. I do not want to screw up my baby's life. I would do everything I could to be a good mom. I would grow up and learn how to be a wife and mom and an adult. I cannot imagine living after giving my baby to somebody else. Update 3. I am 24 weeks pregnant now and just turned 17. My parents have been trying to force me to give my baby boy up for adoption. I have made several posts about it. I do not want to do it. We have met with the adoption agency and looked at families. I do not think I can survive if I do it. I cannot imagine my baby being out there or forever being a nuisance to an adoptive family. They said if I keep the baby, I will be doing it all on my own. They are not going to help me in any way. The baby's father's family is willing to help me, though. The baby's father is not my boyfriend. I know that probably sounds bad. We were never officially in a relationship, just friends really. But his parents have been a lot nicer throughout this whole thing. I do not know them well, but I am getting to know them better now. I am going to have to, since they are willing to help me and us. They are not really happy that I am pregnant, but they believe it should have been my decision about what to do about the pregnancy and eventual baby, and that as parents, it is their job to help and support that decision. He is joining the military. His dad is retired military, and his brother is in the military. It is what he has always wanted to do. He just started basic training. So, the plan is that we are going to get married when his family and I go out there for his graduation. Unless he changes his mind between now and then, which he might. I know he might. He has not said that, but I am just scared he will. There was not time to do it before he left. Anyway, his tech school is over a year long, so the baby and I could move out there with him if need be. Or I can stay with his family here until he goes to his permanent duty station. That would allow me to graduate high school instead of getting a GED, or at least finish the next year of high school normally. I need notarized approval to take the GED at 17, and my parents refuse, but they have agreed to sign paperwork to allow me to get married. I do not understand them. I do not understand how they would rather allow me to get married and go live with another family instead of just allowing me and my baby to live at home until I finish school and turn 18. It makes no sense. I am not even a parent yet, and I would not let my 17-year-old get married. If it was between my 17-year-old getting married and moving across the country or supporting her decision to keep her baby and assisting her with finding resources to enable her to parent, I know which option I would choose as the parent, and it would not be marriage. It hurts so bad. They have essentially said if he is going to marry me and his family is going to help us, then I am not their problem now, so they will sign off on that. They yelled at me, called me names, and locked me in my room. I could go back to being the daughter they love if I would just go along with their plan. But things will never be the same between us again. His parents were the ones who convinced them to approve of the marriage. They met with my parents. Actually, we all met together. They have been the only ones advocating for me at all. They want me to finish school. They are going to help me arrange childcare, and I am going to move in with them before the baby is born. I will take my newborn baby home to their house. I do not even know these people. It is strange and uncomfortable for me, but I am at the point where I cannot be picky about what help is offered. Luckily, the baby will be covered by his dad's insurance no matter what, and I will be covered by insurance once we are married. I am not planning to depend on military benefits to address all our needs. It is just one piece of the puzzle. After I graduate, I plan to get certified for something that has good career prospects and pays well. I am going to be smart about what field I select, and I will use any opportunity to find grants or scholarships to help pay. My parents want me to go straight to a traditional 4-year college. I am in honors classes now. I get really good grades. I scored very high on the SAT. I should go to college, but I am not really interested in any of the career fields that make college worth it financially in my eyes. Unless I get a huge scholarship, I will be paying mostly with student loans. So I am looking into other avenues where I can enter my chosen career field much sooner and start making good money quicker without incurring so much debt. I am really scared about everything. I have never had to do any adult things. I have blown up my whole life by getting pregnant and not going along with my parents' plan. I do not even feel like I have parents now. I never thought my family would end up this way. I sort of just want to go along with their plan because, in many ways, it would be a lot easier. I could go back to my life and still be accepted by my parents and have their love and support again. But my life will never be the same. I think I would regret taking the easy way out. I do not think adoption would be easy for me at all, but as far as day-to-day life struggles, it would probably be easier. I think I would grow up and hate myself for doing it, and I would never be able to undo it. What I am doing now is the only option that I do not think I will spend my whole life regretting. At least it will not make me feel like a coward. I still feel sick to my stomach when I think about everything that is happening. That I am going to live with virtual strangers. That I am going to get married. That I will eventually move across the country and be a mom and a wife before I can even legally drink alcohol. Although moving across the country does not sound too bad right now. I just do not know what I am doing. I think I am probably taking on too much, but it still makes me happier than when I thought I would have no choice but to sign adoption papers. Am I the asshole for refusing to have my dad in my life after he chose his new family? When I was 13 years old, my father had an affair and left my mother. He moved in with his affair partner, whom I will call Jane. At first, my sister and I visited him every weekend. I will admit he was a good father during those visits, although I never liked Jane. However, things changed when Jane got pregnant and had their son. Our visits became less frequent, and my father became more concerned with his new family. He missed some of my recitals and my sister's competitions because he was busy with his son. When I was 16, Jane decided she wanted to move for a new job opportunity. My sister and I begged him not to leave us, but he said, "I need to prioritize my family." He moved 10 hours away, which pretty much ended our relationship. I decided to go no contact with him as it was clear he did not consider me family. My younger sister stayed in contact with him. He would try to call me and offer for me to visit with my sister, but I refused. When he came back to see my sister, I would refuse to speak to him when he showed up at the house. I did not invite him to my high school or college graduation. Now I am 33 and have remained no contact with him. Over the years, he has repeatedly tried to contact me and has had his family contact me on his behalf to reconcile. I have avoided family events in case he attended, including my sister's wedding and baby showers. 3 months ago, my father and his family moved back to our hometown, and he has been relentless in trying to reconcile. I have received messages from my half-brother and half-sister wanting a relationship, saying he is a great dad. My father found out I am getting married and keeps trying to contact me. He has even tried to speak to my fiancée. Jane messaged me, saying I have broken my father's heart repeatedly and that I am pathetic and should get therapy. I replied that she was nothing but a home-wrecking woman and then blocked her. Everyone seems to want me to let him back into my life. I am sick of all the harassment and accidentally bumping into my father and his family in town. Whenever I see him, I just walk away and refuse to speak to them. Everyone says he is a good dad and tried his best to remain in contact, but I pushed him away. My mother, sister, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and even some of my friends are pressuring me. My fiancé has even started saying I am the one at fault for shutting him out. It is all starting to get to me, so I am wondering, am I the one at fault here? Update 1. I have just spoken to my fiancé, and unfortunately, it has not gone well. At this point, I have had enough and want to run away and never come back. My fiancé knows my history with my father and Jane. I explained to him that his siding with my father and pressuring me was hurting me. As my fiancé, he should be supporting me. My fiancé, whom I will call Luke, told me he could not support me in doing something he knows is wrong. Luke said he had spoken to my father and understood both sides of the story. He believes that if we both sit down and talk, we can sort this out and reconcile. I told Luke I did not want this and wanted no contact. I asked why he was even speaking to my father. Luke admitted his father, who is friends with my dad, encouraged him to speak to my father and hear him out. Luke told me my father loved me very much and always wanted to be in my life. He has pictures of me. I am guessing he got these from my family as my social media is set to private. Luke said my father is heartbroken at the state of our relationship because I was being unreasonable about him moving away when I was young. Luke stated I got off on the wrong foot with Jane and that I was not innocent in the breakdown of the relationship. He told me that everyone could see the truth but me and to look in the mirror because I am the problem. Needless to say, I broke down crying and asked him why he was doing this to me and not supporting me. Luke claims to love me but will not stand by and watch me be a heartless person. After he said this, I stood up, told him that he should not marry a heartless person, and walked out. I am currently sitting in my car. My phone is blowing up with Luke trying to contact me, but I do not want to speak to him. I feel like I am losing everything and everyone, and I do not understand what is happening. I know many of you are telling me to cut all contact with my family and leave town. That is not an option for me financially, and I would not be able to set up my business elsewhere. All my money is invested in it, and I have only recently managed to get established with a steady income. Relocating is not an option for me. I love my friends and family and do not want to cut everyone off. I love my hometown. I grew up here. This is my life, and I am not willing to walk away from it. Update 2. Firstly, I agreed to meet my father to talk and try to get him to back off and leave me alone. I asked my mother to arrange it, just him, no one else. I was not sure if he would agree to that, but within 15 minutes of her calling, he was at the door. I asked my mother to stay and mediate. To summarize the conversation, these are a bit mixed up because it is a lot to remember. I asked him to give me space and stop trying to get everyone on his side and let me live my life. I told him he stopped being my father when he moved 10 hours away. I told him Jane was mean to me and shared all the horrible things she has said to me over the years. I expressed my resentment about how he chose Jane and his new family over me and how he told me he had to prioritize them, essentially saying I was not family. I confronted him about withholding my college fund, trying to blackmail me, and then spending it on his new family. I hate how I have missed major family events because he attended them and would make them awkward. I do not see his son and daughter as my family and am sick of them trying to speak to me and approach me. He keeps making scenes every time he sees me and makes me look like the bad guy. He keeps inserting himself into my life by going to my fiance's family events and going behind my back to talk to and sway Luke to his side. I hate how he cheated on my mother and broke our family up and then listened to Jane, who stopped our dates, made him miss my recitals, reduced contact, and was more concerned about his son. He responded by saying he loves me and always has and that he is never going to give up trying to reconnect. He believes he has given me enough space over the years and is done hearing about my life from secondhand sources. He does not want to miss any more of it. He loves Jane and does not regret his past because he would not have her or his 2 children otherwise. He wishes he had ended his marriage with my mother differently. He believes his kids are innocent and that I should not be taking my anger out on them, as they just want to know their big sister. He mentioned that I was a difficult child who was rude and disrespectful to Jane, breaking her belongings, calling her names, and ruining day trips. When Jane got pregnant, she was high risk, and my frequent visits and arguments stressed her out. So he stopped the weekend visitation for her and his son's sake. He still spoke to us on the phone and took us out for dinner and days out, but just did not let us sleep over. When his son was born premature with health complications, he had to stay in the hospital for weeks and frequently return, which, combined with Jane's postpartum depression, meant he could not see us as much and had to miss some events. Jane was unable to get a job locally, and the opportunity to move was too good to pass up, so they relocated. He pointed out that he came back to town on weekends as much as he could to see us and would always invite us to fly out and spend vacations with him. He phoned every day, but I refused to speak or see him. They had flown in for my graduation, but I did not invite him, leading to a loss of temper and his refusal to give me my college fund. He apologized for this and tried to fix it a few weeks later by offering me the money, but I refused it. He claimed he has not spent the money and that I only have to ask, and I can have it. He visited me at my college to try and talk to me, but I refused to see him. He stated he is not going to miss family events and that he makes scenes because he misses me and just wants to talk to me and reconcile. He feels I never gave Jane a chance no matter how hard she tried initially. He mentioned that Jane hates knowing I talk badly about her, am mean to her children, and will not speak to him. He wants to be a part of my life and be my father again, for me to see his kids as my siblings and form a relationship, for Jane to be a part of my life and get along, to attend my wedding and give me away, to apologize for his mistakes and make it up to me, to move forward and let go of the past, and for everyone to get along. I want him to leave me alone, to not be in my life, for Jane and her kids to leave me alone and not try to form a relationship with me, for him to stop turning everyone against me, and for him not to be at my wedding. We talked for a few hours and got pretty much nowhere. He still thinks I am in the wrong and that I need to let go of the past and forgive him. He said he will not give up trying to get me back in his life, so this will never stop until I give him a chance. Secondly, I went back home and tried to talk to my fiancé, Luke. That conversation has not gone well either. He was upset that I walked out and ignored his calls for hours. He reiterated that he loves me but is not willing to support my decision to cut my father out. He also will not support my decision to not invite my father to our wedding. I asked him why he is taking my father's side, and he said he is not. He thinks both sides have made mistakes, but my father has apologized, and now it is time for me to let go of my grudge. He will not have me dragging his name through the mud, and he will not be part of the reason why my family remains broken. He is worried if we have kids, I will cut him off and take our kids if he ever makes a mistake. He does not want to marry someone who will cut their family off. He wants me to reconcile with my father, let bygones be bygones, and start fresh. I told him that was not what I wanted, and he said I am being childish and need to grow up and look to the future. I asked him why he could not just accept my decision and support me, and he said because it was the wrong decision and he was not willing to marry someone who has no family values and cannot forgive. He said if I was not willing to compromise and invite my father to the wedding and reconcile, he could not be with me. At this point, I have packed a bag and gone to my mother's house. I have had enough and I just need to think about what I want to do. I love Luke and do not want to break up, but I cannot have my father in my life. My mother has told me to ignore him and just focus on myself, but I do not know what to do. I am sorry to everyone who was looking for a happy update. I feel even worse than before. Update 3. First, I decided to call my therapist. I have been seeing her on and off for years, especially when I struggled with my relationship with my father. We had a session, and she helped me see things more clearly. We talked about how deeply my father's abandonment hurt me and how Jane's presence exacerbated that pain. She validated my feelings and helped me understand that it's okay to feel the way I do. We also discussed the importance of setting boundaries for my mental health and well-being. After talking to my therapist, I felt more confident in my decision to maintain no contact with my father. I realized that trying to reconcile just to appease others would be detrimental to my mental health. I need to prioritize myself and my healing. Regarding Luke, I had another conversation with him. I explained my feelings in detail, sharing insights from my therapy session. I told him how important it was for me to have his support and understanding. Unfortunately, Luke remained firm in his stance. He believes that family is everything and that reconciliation with my father is crucial. He said he couldn't marry someone who holds on to grudges and refuses to mend family ties. It was a heartbreaking conversation, but we both realized we were at an impasse. Ultimately, we decided to end our engagement. It was a mutual decision, though it hurts deeply. I moved out of our shared apartment and am staying with my mother until I find a new place. It's been a rough transition, but I believe it's for the best. I need to be with people who support my choices and understand my pain. As for my father, I sent him a final message through my mother. I explained that I needed space and time to heal. I told him I appreciated his efforts to reconcile, but that I wasn't ready for that step. I asked him to respect my boundaries and to stop contacting me and those around me. I hope he understands and respects my wishes. In terms of the rest of my family, I am taking a break from family events. I need time to heal and focus on myself. My mother has been incredibly supportive, and I am grateful to have her in my life. My sister and I have also talked, and while she wishes I would reconcile with our father, she respects my decision and has promised to support me. I know this journey will be long and challenging, but I am hopeful. I will continue therapy and focus on building a life that makes me happy and fulfilled. I have learned that it's okay to prioritize my own well-being and to set boundaries, even with family. Update 4. After setting my boundaries and communicating them to my family, I noticed a shift in the dynamics around me. My father, despite his initial emotional response, seemed to be making a genuine effort to respect my wishes. However, Jane and her children continued to create tension. Jane sent several passive-aggressive messages, and there were a few incidents where she tried to confront me in public. I ignored her as best as I could, but it was challenging to avoid her entirely in our small town. My sister, Emma, remained my staunch ally. She confronted Jane on several occasions, making it clear that she would not tolerate any further harassment. Emma's support has been invaluable, and it has strengthened our bond. We both decided to distance ourselves from family events where Jane might be present, which unfortunately included some gatherings hosted by our grandparents. I continued therapy, which has been a lifeline. My therapist encouraged me to keep a journal, documenting my feelings and interactions with my family. This practice helped me process my emotions and provided clarity on how to handle future confrontations. Luke and I began couples therapy. It was not easy, but it was necessary. During our sessions, Luke expressed his frustrations and confusion about my estrangement from my father. The therapist helped him understand the depth of my pain and why my boundaries were crucial for my healing. Slowly, he began to see things from my perspective. We worked on rebuilding trust and improving our communication. Luke promised to stand by my side, even if it meant challenging his own family's views. Despite the progress, planning the wedding remained a source of stress. I decided to scale back on the celebrations and opted for a smaller, more intimate ceremony. This decision felt right for us and alleviated some of the pressure. 3 months after setting my boundaries, my father reached out with a heartfelt letter. He apologized again and acknowledged his past mistakes. He also shared that he was seeking therapy on his own. He expressed a desire to rebuild our relationship, but he assured me that he would respect my pace and boundaries. This letter was a turning point. While I was not ready to fully reconcile, I appreciated his effort and sincerity. I decided to respond with a letter of my own, expressing my feelings and reiterating my boundaries. This exchange opened a line of communication that felt safe and manageable. Jane, however, did not relent. She continued to spread rumors and create drama. One evening, she showed up at my workplace, demanding to talk. I calmly asked her to leave, but she caused a scene. My boss intervened and eventually escorted her out. This incident made me consider seeking a restraining order, but my therapist suggested trying to mediate through legal channels first. I sent Jane a formal cease and desist letter through my lawyer, warning her to stop her harassment. As for my half-siblings, I remained distant. They occasionally reached out, but I kept the interactions brief and cordial. I felt sorry for them, as they were caught in the middle of this conflict, but I was not ready to build a relationship with them. My mother has been a rock throughout all this. She supported my decisions and provided a safe haven whenever I needed to escape. She also agreed to join me in some therapy sessions, which helped us both heal from the past. With time, I noticed a gradual decrease in the pressure from extended family members. They began to understand and respect my decision, even if they did not fully agree with it. This allowed me to focus more on my well-being and future. My relationship with Luke improved significantly. He proved his commitment by standing up to his family and setting boundaries of his own. This strengthened our bond and reassured me of his dedication. We continued to plan our wedding, now with a renewed sense of partnership and understanding. Through therapy, I learned to navigate my emotions and set healthy boundaries. I realized that my father's actions, while hurtful, did not define my worth or future. I began to forgive not for his sake, but for my own peace of mind. This journey has been incredibly challenging, but it has also been a period of growth and self-discovery. I am hopeful for the future and committed to continuing my path of healing and self-care. Thank you to everyone who has supported me along the way. Your kindness has made a world of difference. Update 5. The months following my last update have been a mix of continued challenges and unexpected breakthroughs. The cease and desist letter seemed to have some effect on Jane. Her public confrontations ceased, although she still made her displeasure known through social media and whispered rumors in the community. I chose to ignore these attempts at provocation, focusing instead on my own well-being and the relationships that truly mattered to me. Luke and I made significant progress in our couples therapy. We learned to communicate more openly and effectively, addressing our fears and insecurities with honesty. This newfound clarity strengthened our bond, and we felt more united in our approach to dealing with family issues and wedding planning. We decided on a small, outdoor ceremony at a local park, inviting only our closest friends and family members who had supported us unconditionally. In my therapy sessions, I continued to explore my feelings toward my father and the impact of his past actions on my self-esteem and relationships. My therapist helped me develop coping mechanisms for managing anxiety and stress, particularly when dealing with family-related triggers. I also worked on forgiving myself for any perceived shortcomings, recognizing that I had done my best in a difficult situation. My father's efforts to seek therapy and rebuild our relationship showed genuine commitment. We started meeting for coffee once a month, in a neutral setting, where we could talk without the pressure of family dynamics. These meetings were initially awkward, filled with tentative small talk and long silences. However, as time passed, we began to address deeper issues and share more about our lives. While the wounds from the past were still there, these conversations helped in slowly stitching them up. Emma continued to be my rock. Her unwavering support and willingness to confront Jane on my behalf were invaluable. We started a weekly tradition of having a sisters' night, where we would cook dinner, watch movies, and simply enjoy each other's company. These evenings became a source of joy and stability in my life, reminding me of the importance of familial bonds that are built on love and respect. The wedding day arrived, a beautiful sunny day that felt almost surreal. Despite the smaller guest list, the love and support from those who attended made the day perfect. Luke and I exchanged our vows under a canopy of trees, surrounded by people who genuinely cared for us. My mother and Emma played significant roles in the ceremony, their presence a testament to the strength and resilience of our family. My father attended the wedding, staying respectfully in the background, which I appreciated. His presence signified his willingness to be part of my life on my terms. In the months following the wedding, I focused on building a new chapter with Luke. We moved into a cozy apartment in a neighboring town, seeking a fresh start away from the drama that had plagued us. This move brought a sense of peace and allowed us to establish our own routines and traditions as a married couple. Jane's influence gradually diminished as I distanced myself physically and emotionally. The legal warning had done its job, and she seemed to accept that her attempts to control and intimidate me were futile. I occasionally heard rumors, but they no longer held power over me. I felt stronger and more resilient, ready to face whatever challenges came my way. My relationship with my half-siblings remained distant but cordial. I maintained minimal contact, ensuring that interactions were polite but emotionally detached. I hoped that as they grew older, they would form their own opinions and understand the complexities of our family dynamics. For now, keeping a distance was the healthiest choice for my own well-being. Luke and I continued our individual and couples therapy, recognizing the importance of ongoing self-improvement and mutual support. We set new goals for our future, including plans to travel and eventually start a family of our own. These aspirations filled us with hope and excitement, providing a positive focus for our energies. Looking back on this journey, I am proud of the progress I have made. Setting boundaries, seeking therapy, and surrounding myself with supportive individuals have been crucial steps in my healing process. I learned to prioritize my mental health and well-being, understanding that I deserve peace and happiness. This journey is ongoing, and I am committed to continuing my growth and healing. To anyone going through similar struggles, I offer this advice. Trust yourself, seek support, and never be afraid to set boundaries. Your well-being matters, and you have the right to create a life filled with love, respect, and happiness. Thank you for following my story and for the support and encouragement along the way. My recent boyfriend gave me a book to read. It's really bad. I met my boyfriend while we were both in our master's program. Over the past year, we developed a close friendship that eventually turned into a romantic relationship. Shortly before I left the state for a summer internship, we began dating more seriously. Before I left, he gave me a book that he thought I would enjoy. The book is A Spell for Chameleon by Piers Anthony, a fantasy novel written several decades ago. I had no prior knowledge of the book, but I couldn't help but find myself laughing just 2 pages in because of the absurdity of the writing. particularly its portrayal of women. After I finished the first chapter, we had a Skype call where I tried to explain my concerns about the book respectfully. During our conversation, he made a deal with me. Knowing that I am a big fan of the Harry Potter series, he promised to give the Harry Potter books a chance, starting with Philosopher's Stone, if I agreed to continue reading his book. This promise struck a chord with me, and I felt a renewed sense of motivation to keep reading. However, as I progressed to chapter 3, my initial reservations about the book only grew stronger. It has turned out to be one of the most sexist and misogynistic texts I have ever encountered. The writing is poorly executed, with painfully obvious symbolism and an overabundance of fantasy elements that contribute little to the plot. The protagonist is portrayed as thoroughly unlikable, and I find it challenging to care about either him or the fantasy world of Xanth. I find myself in a difficult position. I do not want to outright tell my boyfriend that I think his favorite book is problematic and poorly written, as doing so might hurt his feelings. He has always been respectful and well-educated, identifying as a proud feminist, so I am taken aback by his recommendation. It seems out of character for him to endorse a book with such a problematic portrayal of women. I am left wondering if he simply did not remember the negative aspects of the book, or if he had a different perception of it when he read it years ago. While I am not holding him to his end of the bargain to read the Harry Potter series, I still feel it is important for him to understand why I cannot invest any further in this book. I want to communicate this to him in a way that acknowledges his preferences without making him feel that his taste is being judged or that he is at fault. Update. We had another Skype call the other night, and the topic of the book naturally came up. I began by expressing how much I like him and truly appreciate his willingness to share things he enjoys with me. He quickly picked up on where I was heading and started laughing, and soon I found myself laughing too. The situation seemed so trivial and small in the grand scheme of things. When I explained why I struggled with the book, he was very understanding. He admitted that it had been at least a decade since he last read it, and he could see how the content might make me uncomfortable. Despite this, he is still open to reading the first Harry Potter book, as I had given his book a fair chance. Being a single father, he mentioned that his kids also enjoy the Harry Potter series, so reading it could be a great way for him to bond with them more. I concluded our conversation by expressing that I hope this does not deter him from sharing more of his interests with me. He responded warmly, saying, "If anything, it encourages me to find more things that you will appreciate." This response made my heart flutter and reassured me that our relationship could handle such differences in taste.